All right, what's going on, everybody? It's Andrew with Fast Cars, Fast Money. We'll be going over the Atlanta preview for this weekend. Um, it's really just a preview video. I guess you can apply this to all three series. So just one preview video. There's not going to be an individual video for the Truck Series or Xfinity Series or the Cup Series. It's just all kind of encompassing everything for the entire weekend. But real quickly before we hop into that, I just wanted to say that F1 is now on DraftKings. We are not going to be covering that. There's already so much work that we do already, just trying to handle all three series in NASCAR. So to try to tag on F1 would just be too much. So we're just going to stick to what we know. We're going to continue to do NASCAR, but there is a free contest this weekend if you are interested in checking it out or obviously playing yourself. And then I know there's some other NASCAR content creators who are interested in diving into some of the F1 stuff. So we kind of retweeted some of the different accounts that we saw that who were going to be providing content. So if you are interested, you can find that at our Twitter. It's at FastCarsFM. But just wanted to mention that. And then, yeah, other than that, we'll just dive into the preview. So if you didn't know, Atlanta is not the same Atlanta that we're used to. It was probably long overdue because literally chunks of the track were starting to come up and they had to red flag the race to make repairs and stuff. But we're going to Atlanta this weekend and it should be something new, something different that we're not used to. So from a DFS standpoint, there's a lot of uncertainty. There's a lot of questions that are up in the air that all of us are trying to answer and all of us are hoping to get answers to as this weekend continues to progress. But it's still a 1.5 mile track. There's 325 laps here this weekend, mainly for the Cup race, the truck race, and Xfinity race. Obviously, you're going to have a lower amount of laps, but 325 laps is a significant amount. And I have it highlighted, for a reason you kind of see in the parentheses there, but it's significantly more laps that we run at Daytona and Talladega. So if it is producing that super speedway tight pack, drafting type of racing that we're used to seeing at Daytona and Talladega, well, now you have 325 laps. And yeah, they're going to be clocking off laps a lot faster, but that also increases the chances for wrecks. It's I don't know, time wise, it might be a relatively a shorter race than the Daytona or Talladega race, but lap wise, there's so many laps, there's so many chances for an accident to happen if you think that's how the race is going to play out. And we'll talk about that a little bit later. So there's a lot of dominator points up for grabs. There's basically 81 points for laps led and then 146 laps for fast laps. So if it's a super speedway race, those fast laps are probably going to get distributed and those laps led probably are going to get distributed too. But if it doesn't play like a super speedway, that's a ton of points up for grabs to get like a traditional 1.5 mile track where you roster 2 or 3 guys who are starting up front, maybe some guys who can give you some place differential and some finishing potential. And if you just stack the back, if it does race like a 1.5 mile track, then you're missing out on those dominator points. So again, we'll talk about it a little bit more a little bit later. So it's all new pavement. They reconfigured the track. I know the corners are a little bit tighter. I know the banking has increased. I know the track's a little bit wider as well, but it's brand new. The only drivers who have had practice on it was basically for like a Goodyear tire test, and it was single car runs, and at most they were maybe running at 3 in a pack. So really Friday is going to be our first indication of kind of what to expect. The problem is if you look at the radar for Atlanta Motor Speedway, there's a lot of rain in the area on Friday. And obviously they're not going to send these cars out in the rain. So hopefully there's some track time on Friday, but if Friday is potentially a wash, then you immediately go into Saturday, and Saturday is an action-packed day of, you have qualifying for both the Truck Series and the Xfinity Series. You have qualifying for the Cup Series, and you also have the truck race and the Xfinity race. It's busy enough as is. I think the trucks start qualifying at like 10:30 or something in the morning that day. So there's not really a lot of time to adjust the schedule, and maybe they turn those qualifying sessions into practice sessions, or maybe they keep the qualifying sessions. And if they do keep the qualifying sessions, you're not going to learn anything because everyone's going to go out there one at a time. And if they do turn it into a practice session, like, people are, I mean, they're going to be timid. They're going to try to just, nod wad up the car, because if they do, like, they don't really have that much time to turn around and get it fixed. So that's just even more variables and unknowns. But once we get to Sunday, it looks like the weather on Sunday is going to be pretty good. So the actual Cup race is Sunday at 3 o'clock, and then the truck race and Xfinity race are scheduled for Saturday. Like I said, there's so many unknowns with no one ever being on this track before to race. The new pavement, the new reconfiguration, if it's going to race like a 1.5 mile track, if it's going to race like a super speedway race, if it's going to be something different. You have the next gen car, coming for at least the Cup Series. So there's, and the weather too. So it's a really unique, strange weekend for DFS. Hopefully the weather, holds out and we can get, a nice sunny day, and it doesn't rain. And hopefully we can use Friday and Saturday to really help us with Sunday. If we do get practice, hopefully we can get an understanding of, oh yeah, this is definitely going to be a super speedway race, or, oh yeah, doesn't really look like they're going to be in a pack all that much, or it looks like maybe the leader is able to, stay out front, or maybe it is going to be difficult to pass. And maybe that then changes your lineup approach a little bit. Or, you see how the truck race unfolds, you see how the Xfinity race unfolds, and you play that narrative, assuming that the Cup race is going to go that way. And that's kind of why I have that other bullet point highlighted down there, the 1.5 mile versus super speedway lineup approach. Because if you think it is a super speedway race and you just stack guys in the back who can give you maximum place differential, where you don't even worry about salary, it's just, hey, sort the grid 1 through 40 or however many drivers are in the field. I think it's 37 for the Cup race, and pick guys who start 20th on back and lock your lineup and good to go. Problem is, if it doesn't race like that, there's all these dominator points that we talked about, all these laps, and if you're not having the guy out front who's leading you laps and picking up potentially even the fast lap as well, like, you're going to be significantly disappointed, and probably going to be a donation day for you on DraftKings. But you can also say the opposite if you think this is the traditional Atlanta race, and if you don't know it's a repave, where you are playing guys in the front, and then it does turn into a super speedway race, and then you're going to be significantly disappointed when all the guys who have maximum place differential outscore all the guys who maybe led 80 laps and wrecked out of the race. So it's really interesting, like, which approach do you go with? And hopefully we'll get a little bit more of an understanding once the weekend rolls around, and we'll have all of our final thoughts. We'll be trying to get the final picks videos out on YouTube as well, and our final thoughts are just on our Twitter page, which is at FastCarsFM. If you look at how Atlanta is preparing the track, if you look at the sports books, if you look at what NASCAR is doing from a package standpoint, they all believe that this will race like a mini Daytona, like a mini Talladega. They have implemented that the double, called the yellow line. I think it's actually a red and white line for Atlanta, but basically the invisible wall where you can't advance your position by going below that line. It's the same thing that they have at Daytona and Talladega. I think those are the only two tracks where you're restricted to stay, off of the apron. You're not able to use the apron as a racing surface. They also have reinforced the safer barrier on the front stretch and the catch fence, which, they wouldn't do that if they didn't think there was a potential safety concern, or they didn't think that we might see, accidents and there might be cautions. And again, could be a narrative playing to that super speedway approach. But we won't know for sure until we see practice, qualifying, and potentially even the truck race and the Xfinity race. Also, if you look at odds, the odds from sports books also suggest it's going to be a super speedway race. Everyone's like, plus 1,000 to win, where normally if you go to a weekend, Kyle Larson or Kyle Busch, whoever it might be, is usually, plus 350, plus 400, plus 450. So they're not really sure. And even from pricing, you see like Ryan Blaney is the most expensive driver. And normally, he wouldn't be, but he's one of the better super speedway racers that we have in the series. So he got a significant price bump. And lastly, NASCAR is bringing the 510 horsepower package. So they run that 675, 680, or however much, I don't even remember how much horsepower it is, but whatever the packages they run at every other track except for Daytona and Talladega is the 510. So they're implementing that 510 package at Atlanta for this weekend. So even NASCAR is kind of thinking it's going to be like a super speedway race. So yeah, I don't know if this is helpful or not. Hopefully it is helpful to understand that there are a lot more unknowns going into this weekend than a typical, NASCAR DFS weekend, that Atlanta has been repaved. And the two things I really wanted to point out was how many laps are at this track, all those dominator points available, how many opportunities are potentially for wrecks. And then lastly, just how you are building your lines. Again, is it more that 1.5 mile, approach where you're targeting one or two drivers up front who can be an early lap leader to pick up dominator points and pairing them with guys who are going to finish well and pick up place differential? Or are you ignoring all the guys who start towards the front and you're just stacking place differential plays? Again, once the weekend gets a little bit closer, we'll give you our approach of how we are going to approach this weekend. But yeah, hopefully this is kind of a good preview, initial thoughts video as you are watching everything unfold this weekend. So yeah, that'll do it. Don't forget, free contest on DK for F1 if you want to try that out this weekend. All three series, Truck Series, Xfinity Series, and Cup Race this weekend. And yeah, that'll do it. Thank you guys again for all the support. We got a whole bunch of new subscribers last weekend, new followers on Twitter and everything. So definitely feeling all the love, and we'll get to 1,000 before we know it. So catch you on some future videos here shortly.